Alright, so here we are with 10.3 ellipses. What we want to be able to do is write the standard equation for an ellipse and then graph an ellipse, identify its center, vertices, co-vertices, and the foci. And you'll find out what all that is. Keep in mind what you saw in 10.1, we're going to do a little bit differently for the ellipses in this section. So this is actually the way you'll see the standard form for an ellipse. Okay, what is an ellipse? An ellipse is the set of points in a plane where the sum of the distances to two fixed points, those points are called focus, each or by themselves, together we call them foci, is constant. The foci always lie on the major axis. So when you look at a picture, or when you look at an ellipse, there's always a major and minor axis. The longer side, the shorter side, basically. Okay, on page 737, you see a point where they show you the different types of ellipses. There's a horizontal one where the major axis is on the x-axis or along the x, goes horizontally, and there's a vertical one where the major axis goes vertically, kind of a duh. And they like to differentiate between what are called vertexes and co-vertexes. I'm not sure if I am with the notes here. I am not sure by the time I get to the test whether I'll really differentiate those very much. The main point is those are like the endpoints of an ellipse from each axis. The vertexes are considered the endpoints on the major axis, and the co-vertex is considered the endpoints on a minor axis. And then notice that the focus or the foci lie as points inside the ellipse on the major axis. Also make note here that you've got, this is your standard form for the equation of ellipse. Notice how it has x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared. Wherever the bigger number is, that will tell you where the major axis is, and that's something we'll see in a second. Also, to find c for our foci, notice that that would be along here at c squared equals a squared minus b squared. And again, this is also found on page 737. But that's going to be key. You take the numbers that are here and subtract them, and then that would give you c squared. If you take the square root, that would tell you where the focus is. Okay, so let's look for example. Let's say you have this drawing. Okay, and then I can tell that I have a point at negative 10, 0, and I have a focus at 8, 0. Okay, and it could be F1, F2, doesn't matter. Alright, so what we would want to be able to do is be able to come up with the equation. So let's look at that for the next one. And what, in case we couldn't for some reason count, let's actually say then we know the focus is at 8, so we're going to say that's 8. That's our c, 8 squared minus 10 squared, because 10 was on the major axis. So that would give us 36, which means then b is at 6. Okay, so if you go back and look, you can see here that that b is at 6, or 0, 6, and then that means it also would be at 0, negative 6. Okay, now the equation there, going back to here, would be x squared plus y squared equals 1, but you got to put those points over. So the major axis was on the x, so you say 10 squared is 100. The minor axis was on the y, so you say y squared, which is 6 squared, 36. And there's your equation of the ellipse. Okay, so let's do another one. Well, let's write the equation of this one given 2 points, 0, 8, and 3, 0. Okay, and I'm differentiating that the vertex is at 8. Notice that's on the y, and the co-vertex is 3. So all I really need to do if I want to write the equation is, again, start off x squared plus y squared equals 1, and I'm going to put them over. So the a, which is the bigger one, is on the y. I'm going to square that, 64, and put that under the y. The b is on the x. I'm going to square that and say b squared is 9 and put that there under the x. And that's it for that one. Okay, very simple. We're not right now trying to find any vertices, foci, but although I could do that from here, and we'll get to that. Okay, so let's look at an example here. X squared over 16 plus y squared over 25 equals 1. Let's graph this first. Okay, there is no minus or adding or subtracting to the x and the y, so I'm going to say my center is at 0, 0. So unless there's some numbers in the denominator with the x and y, your center is going to be at 0, 0. Okay, now on the x, I am going to go to the left and to the right. Take the square root of 16, and that tells you how many you're going on the left and right of the x. Take the square root of 25, that's 5. Go up and down 5. Okay, and then you can connect that, and you've got your ellipse. Now, based on that, I can tell you that my major axis, which is going vertically, is 5 times 2, which is 10, because I went 5 up, 5 down, 5 plus 5 is 10. Minor axis, 4 times 2 is 8, going 4 to the left and 4 to the right. From basically what we're saying here is that to go from, say, here to here, it took 8 units. To go from here to here, it took 10 units. And the center is at 0, 0. Okay, now vertices. The vertices are the ones on the major axis. So that would be 0, 5 and 0, negative 5. The co-vertices are the ones on the minor axis. So that would be 4, 0 and negative 4, 0. And then your foci are at, we have to find out and say 25 minus 16 squared, which is 9. And that would be, the square root of that would be 3. So I'd go up and down 3 from the center because the foci have to be on the major axis. So at 0, 3 and 0, negative 3. Okay, here's another example. X squared plus x squared over 16 plus y squared over 9 equals 1. Again, doing this, your center is at 0, 0. You're going to go 4 across, 4 to the left, 4 right and left, 3 up and down because I'm taking the square roots, and the 16 tells me square root of 16 is 4, 4 along the x. Square root of 9 is 3, 3 along the up and down on the y. So my center is at 0, 0. My major axis is equal to 8. My minor axis will be equal to 6. Sorry. Okay, vertices. Well, then they're at negative 4, 0, and 4, 0. My co-vertex would be at 0, 3, and 0, negative 3. So then to find the foci, again, they're going to be along the x-axis. I would say 16 minus 9 squared, which is 7, and then take the square root of 7. When I take the square root of 7, okay, so all I did there was subtract. Realize that. Okay, the square root of 7 is about 2.6. I'm not going to be specific and tell you give me the simplified radical. I'd rather have the decimal. Okay, 2.6 is about right there and right there, to the left and to the right. So your answer would be 2.6, 0 and negative 2.6, 0 for your focus points. Okay, again, those points have some meaning to how you could draw the ellipse by hand, but we're not going to worry about that right now. That's something maybe for geometry. Okay, so what happens when I move the center? This is what's going to happen when I move the center from the origin 0, 0, you're going to use these set of notes, which are found on page 738. Okay, there may be a little bit of a blip here because I had to stop as the class began. So, forgive me for that. If I get a chance, I'll try to redo this, but I don't think I will. Alright, so we now know that we can have an ellipse with a center off 0, 0. You can see the different formulas or numbers that they would use here, but let's look at an example. I think that would make things easier. Okay, so here we have x minus 3 squared over 16 plus y minus 1 squared over 36 equals 1. Okay, so you can tell that on the y you're going to have your major axis, and on the x you're going to have your minor axis. Your center ends up being at 3, 1. Opposite of the negative 3 or the minus, Okay. And then if you look, the square root of 36 is 6, the square root of 16 is 4. That 6 will be your A, that 4 will be your B. So that means you're going to have vertices, or you're going to have a major axis that's 12 and a minor axis that has a length of 8. And Well, really what you really should think of is from this 3, 1, you're going to go up 6, down 6. You're going to go to the left and right 4 from that point. So let's look at that. Let's do that a little bit slower. Okay, so here's 3, 1. If I go up 6, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm there. I go down 6, I end up there. If I go to the right 4, or actually to the left 4, I'm there, and to the right 4, I'm there. Connect those and figure out those points. Those points are 3, 7, 3, -5, 7, 1, and -1, 1. Okay, so these become my vertices. Okay. And in actuality, we could say these first two, the top two, or the north and south ones, are your vertices, and then your east and west ones would be your co-vertices. In this case, if you just at least got these points, I'd be happy with that. And then you can find your C, your foci, for your foci, 36 minus 16, which would have been 20. So take the square root of 20, and you end up with something like 4.5. So that would have been about where the foci would have been. Adding 4.5 to the 3, 1 would give you 5.5, and subtracting would give you 3 minus, or 3, negative 3.5. That's it for this section. If you have any questions, please make sure to ask. I mean, this really helps when you ask questions, not just sit there and go, I think I got it, or I'm just listening to Mr. Patch blindly and I really don't care. Thank you very much.